Cowboy Bebop Netflix cancellation could doom future anime adaptations. And there was much rejoicing because no anime fan wants this shit. Yes, there's the occasional good one like Battle Angel and Speed Racer, but I'd rather Hollywood just give the money to Japan and let them just make more anime. Nobody wants Hollywood adaptations of anime, even if a few of them end up not being bad. We'd rather just get more anime. And not the fake-ass Western anime either. Again, there's a few good examples like Avatar The Last Airbender, but they are very few and far between. With Netflix canceling its ambitious Cowboy Bebop adaptation, years of overthinking suddenly mean nothing. Can we even keep doing this? I hope not. Although, alternatively, I hope they keep trying, because when fucking One Piece and Yu Yu Hakusho and Naruto bomb, go ahead, guys. Lose it. Although making money is real weird when it comes to Netflix, right? Because nobody pays for these shows or these movies. You technically already paid with your subscription, but Netflix is in a really weird situation with this. Because if they, like Squid Game, for example, was watched by most people on Netflix, but did it bring them any new subscribers? Apparently it did in South Korea, but everywhere else in the world, it's really hard to tell whether this new content is more made to continue like maintaining their current level or growing. Because if you're a publicly traded company, even if you reach a sustainable level, that's never enough. You have to keep growing forever. On Thursday, Netflix announced the cancellation of its expensive and ambitious series. It didn't look expensive, Cowboy Bebop, a live-action adaptation of the influential Japanese anime. As the Hollywood Reporter observed, the axe fell just 3 weeks after the show premiered. Yeah, it must have been worse than we thought. The relentless promotion by Netflix leading up to the premiere, only for its swift cancellation weeks later, raises an exhausting question. What was all this for? To own the toxic fanboys, obviously. Look, all the right people are mad. Look, we got them, guys. Well, you got yourself bankrupted. I hope you're happy. I hope it was worth it. I hope it was worth it. Netflix is in a perpetual and desperate search for original productions to beef up its content catalog. Wow, too bad they're still looking in the West. Honestly, if Netflix was smart, they'd start bringing in more like Indian stuff, more Chinese stuff. Like, goddamn. Think of the money Netflix would make if they started importing those like Chinese wuxia movies and series. Obviously, we got the Japanese stuff and the South Korean stuff, but I'm not going to count that because Netflix is already trying that. And more importantly, give the fans what they want. Instead of giving us like woke garbage, give us fucking Peach Beach Splash. I'm sure that would make a lot of money. Oh, but it's against your ideology, so you can't do that, can you? Yeah, unlike streamers that rely on an existing library like Paramount Plus or Warner Media, both of those are failing. Netflix is limber enough to license, adapt, and acquire. But because it's more financially sound to adapt an IP with an existing audience than to try something new, at least if you ignore successful gambles like Stranger Things and Squid Game, Netflix found its way to Cowboy Bebop, an anime beloved in part because of how contained it was in a 26-episode series rather than an absurd 900-chapter saga. Was that a dig at One Piece? One Piece is way more successful than Cowboy Bebop. And a lot of people, they've been coming out to try to defend this garbage too. Like, oh, come on, guys, you're overreacting. It's not that bad. It's not nearly as bad as Death Note. You're right. Death Note was actually worse. But Cowboy Bebop is a lot more, let's say, fondly remembered than Death Note. Cowboy Bebop is considered a classic by a lot of people here in the West. Japan never really liked it all that much, to be honest. But here in the West, Cowboy Bebop is considered a fucking classic. So that's what it's going to be compared to. If you remake a classic, then of course you're going to be compared to the classic. Even if you were better than average, if you made a show that's better than, say, 75% of other shows being made right now, you think that's a success, right? But if you tried to remake a classic that was in the top 0.1%, and the best you can do is the top 75%, you're still going to be remembered for being shit. This is why I would never even consider remaking something that's considered a classic. Unless I legitimately think I could improve on it in some way. And notice I say improve on it, not fucking right its wrongs. Every single thing, no matter how good it is, has its flaws. But even then, like, I'm quite sure all of these guys thought they could improve on Cowboy Bebop, and look at what fucking happened. Like, yeah, the classics are best left untouched. If you want to remake something that was a fucking flop and do it right. Make it good. But Netflix opened a lot of wounds in pop culture fandom. Anime fans are fatigued at limp adaptations of Japanese anime by Hollywood producers because for decades, American creatives have demonstrated a woeful misunderstanding of the cultural themes that make these stories special. And even better, the themes that make anime special are polar opposites to the woke religion that's running the show in the West. If any Westerner dared make an anime that was true to actual Japanese anime, they would be canceled immediately. The West is creatively bankrupt. They literally can't make anything even remotely like anime. That's why they sit around and do nothing while anime is eating their lunch. They can't fight back. They know what the fans want. But if they give them that, they'll be canceled. And that's why they would rather just censor anime, because they can't compete at anime's level. So their only hope of even staying alive is to drag anime down to their level. So ungainly attempts at an American remake of the 1988 sci-fi classic Akira have tried to set the story in New York City, despite Akira fundamentally being about Japan's 20th century existential crisis, as evidenced by its depiction of civil unrest, rampant bosozoku gangs, and predominant nuclear imagery. Yeah, a little bit of hints there. Though most Hollywood adaptations of anime often exhibit laborious visual devotion to these stories, such as Scarlett Johansson-led Ghost in the Shell from Current Year -4, which contains several shot-for-shot mimicries of the 1995 anime film, honestly, they should have made Standalone Complex. I know it may be a hot take, but I think Standalone Complex is way fucking better than the movies. Like, the first movie was okay. The subsequent movies, honestly, it's like an hour-long philosophy lecture with the occasional fight scenes to break it up. Really wasn't my thing. But Standalone Complex, I fucking loved it. Like, if you guys haven't seen Standalone Complex, it's basically like a cyberpunk cop show. It's fucking good. Now, the second season of Standalone Complex wasn't as good as the first one, but even that was better than the movies. All right, they still fail to adapt to a new medium. A lot of things only work because it's animation. There's things that can't be done in live action. I've actually said this before, that animation is always going to be superior to live action because it's not limited by pesky reality. You can do all sorts of insane stuff that's still in the realm of impossible, even with CGI as good as it is these days. These days, live action gets around a lot of the limitations by using CG, but CG can't do even a fraction of what just full animation could do. Now, Cowboy Bebop is both the best and most recent example, in spite of the show's obvious efforts to be the anime. The only good thing I've seen about this Netflix Bebop was that they redid the anime's intro pretty much shot for shot. Like, no, that was okay. But the rest of the show, like, could you really imagine, like, Vicious cowering like a little bitch to Julia pointing a gun at him? Yeah, that's totally what he would do. That's totally in character for him. Yeah, actual filmmaking failed to be as lively, energetic, and rhythmic as as it is in animation. It was like watching a faded photocopy. Oh, no, it's not. It's like watching a faded photocopy of some pervert's fanfic. Like that. That's what it was, man. The best writer can make even a bad idea work, while a bad writer can make even a great idea fail. That's true. That's true. I'm still learning. Actually, that's so full disclosure, that's part of what Let's End the World is about, where I'm kind of experimenting with a few things there too to see what people like, what people don't like. I've gotten some pretty good feedback so far, so we're adapting it to that story going forward and others in the future. Casting further divided the fandom. In the lead role of bounty hunter Spike Spiegel was John Cho, a Korean-American actor whose success in Hollywood has come to represent something bigger than himself. Yeah, so John Cho, nothing against him. He seems to be a pretty decent guy. He's a good actor, but he's twice as old as Spike. There's also Mustafa Shakir, whose Bushmaster in Luke Cage was a revelation as pilot Jet Black. I mean, they did cast him to make him live up to his name. I'll give them that. But out of all three of them, he seems to be the best one, though. From the clips I've seen, Jet was the closest to the actual anime character. And Daniela Pineda, not even a good cosplayer. Yeah, though recognized by the mainstream for his work and in the raunchy Harold and Kumar films and the reboot Star Trek trilogy, Cho has been unable to crack Hollywood's bamboo ceiling. What the hell? Bamboo ceiling? Oh, damn. I guess Jackie Chan must have set that up before he left so he could have no competition, huh? Gotta be it. He hasn't become a proper Hollywood star despite all his qualifications as a leading male actor. But Cho's involvement in the Netflix series felt subversive because most anime adaptations cast white actors as leads. Cho's role as Spike, whose race is unspecified in the anime, you could probably guess by his name what his ethnicity would be, felt declarative of something resembling a point, and for Cho, the series was shaping up to be a vehicle to finally take Cho to the stars. I fucking hope he didn't see it that way. Even worse, imagine that, like, we laugh at people like Daisy Ridley, for example, but imagine being in her shoes. You get selected to play the lead role in a Star Wars trilogy. Could you imagine that? Like, just if you were an actual Star Wars fan, that would be a dream come true. Like, oh my God, I was selected as the lead role in a Star Wars trilogy. Holy fucking shit. And then you see the script. I would have noped out right then and there. Like, nope, I am not going to have my name attached to the series of movies that destroys this once beloved IP. That's what everyone involved with this Cowboy Bebop adaptation should have done. Oh, yeah, I loved Cowboy Bebop. I love anime. Fuck, I'll be happy to play. And oh, yeah, I can't wait. And then you see the script. Actually, I'm going to exercise the right to work statute in this state, and I'm just going to nope out of this. Thank you very much. And I know it's unfair, but people in any creative position have it rough. Like, see, I work in tech at my day job. I could have a shitty job and then leave and move on to another job and get a good job, and it's as if the shitty job never even happened. But when you're a creative, you're always going to be judged by your last work. So you got to be real careful to not accept work that's going to fuck with your ability to get more work in the future. Yeah, you really got to be careful. But could it really? There's a semi-recent phenomenon in cultural commentary known as the representation sweats. I got to know what this is. And now that acknowledging identity has become part of still systematically white movies and shows, audiences of color sweat over projects featuring ethnic minorities, especially when these projects are actually worth attention. Because the supply and demand machinations that run Hollywood, there's always the fear that projects like Cowboy Bebop will fail and end the potential for other diverse casts. If it looks like there's no demand, Hollywood will scuttle the supply. That's bullshit, because they're going after that ESG money too. So even if these things fail over and over again, they're not going to stop. They're going to keep doing it. Now, with its diverse ensemble led by the appealing John Cho, Bebop epitomized representation sweats because of its high profile as an adaptation of a classic on a major streamer. The performance on Netflix platform can and will determine if more projects like it are made. It's all the more maddening that Netflix refused to disclose anything about its viewing numbers, so decisions to renew or cancel shows is purely open to speculation. You don't want them to reveal that, okay? You don't want it. Because you wouldn't like what you see. The only reason your side can pretend like woke stuff is popular is because the real numbers are hidden, because of gimmicks. You don't want them to reveal the truth, okay? As of now, Cowboy Bebop's worth to Netflix is clear. Netflix is still interested in anime. It's got a live-action adaptation of One Piece in development. Oh, I can't wait. That is going to be a great dumpster fire. And it doesn't seem like anyone's career has ended overnight. Certainly not John Cho's, as he has more work in varying stages of production. Folks can sweat a little less about that, but for all this tireless discourse, from the futility of the American anime adaptations to the rep sweats it's cast presented, what was the point of all this if Netflix wasn't committed to it? Okay. You have to know, you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them, right? Every gambler knows this. Not all things are worth committing to. Yes, sometimes you just fumble a little bit and you stick with it and fix it and make it better. A lot of things that are considered classics and big hits now didn't start that way. Actually, look at Demon Slayer. That's the hot shit in the manga world right now. Demon Slayer was over halfway through its run, I believe, before it hit it big. It was average. It was doing average at best for a while. And then it became a big hit. If they canceled that early, that would have been a freaking tragedy. But most things that get canceled, they probably should have been canceled. In my review, I wrote that Cowboy Bebop was a dud that didn't capture the same spirit as its more compelling source material. Yeah, to everyone that's defending this dumpster fire, saying it wasn't all that bad, let me reiterate. It's being compared to something that's remembered as a classic. Unless you create another classic, it's gonna be remembered as being bad, okay? If you try to remake or adapt a classic, you're setting a pretty high expectation. That's what you're going to be compared to. You're not going to be compared to other like original IPs or whatever coming out. You're going to be compared to the thing you're adapting. But I still rooted for it. I want the people behind it to have the space and resources to try again. Nope. Cowboy Bebop or B-Flop has an enviably charismatic ensemble who only needed better material to work with. Are you low-key saying the writing team should be fired? Because I agree. And the second season promised to venture into new territory. The anime didn't seem promising. The show could stand on its own rather than dwell in the shadows of something better. It was always going to be in the shadows of something better. Unless the show did something original and was better than the anime, it would always be remembered as, the cheap knockoff. If there's one drawback to the streaming age, it's impatience. Streamers want new shows to come out with late-era Game of Thrones buzz, which fails to recognize that it took years for Game of Thrones to achieve a high profile. Now, this isn't to say Cowboy Bebop deserved 8 seasons, and it's not unheard of for television shows to reiterate and retool over time. Netflix didn't get Cowboy Bebop right on the first take, but imagine if they had the time, space, and money to try for a second. You know what? Go ahead. Keep throwing your money away. The sooner you go broke, the sooner you'll quit interfering with anime. It's win-win either way. But with the baggage of anime adaptations and the costly risk to diverse representation in the marketplace, is it even worth continuing to try in the first place? No, it's not. And guys, keep pushing this. Let them know that you're not interested in live-action adaptations of anime. Now, if you want to make an original live-action show or movie that's inspired by an anime, nothing wrong with that. You could go around giving interviews all day about how X and Y anime inspired you. No one's going to mind. No one's going to compare you to those anime unless you're doing an actual remake of those anime. But doing full-blown live-action adaptations of anime, please stop. As funny as it is watching these dumpster fires and watching these morons lose money, it might eventually start damaging the anime itself.